It was 2:30 a.m. I was alone in the hostel. Third floor. Empty corridor. Complete silence. And then I saw something strange. I stopped breathing for a second. There was a girl standing at the open doorway of room 9. Just standing there in the dark. Completely still. Staring directly at my room. All my classmates had gone home that evening. Long weekend. Everyone had somewhere to be. I was the only one who stayed back for exam preparation. The entire floor was empty. Every room dark. Every door closed. Just me. Just alone. I had no idea who she was. I had no idea how she got in. The hostel locks at 11 p.m. No one can enter from outside after that. I had checked the main door myself before coming upstairs. I thought I was completely alone in this hostel. But I was wrong. That question, who was she, kept me awake for a long time. But honestly, that is not even the question that scares me the most now. The question that scares me the most is something else entirely. So, if you want to know what actually happened, stay with me. Do not skip ahead. This story only makes sense if you hear it in order. My roommates all left on Thursday evening. Long weekend. Everyone had somewhere to go. Everyone had family or friends or plans. I was the only one who stayed back. Exams were coming in 2 weeks and I needed the time. So, I said goodbye to everyone and I stayed. By Friday afternoon the entire floor was empty. I walked down the corridor around 5 p.m. Every door closed. No music. No voices. No sound of anyone moving around. Just silence. Our floor was never like this normally. On any regular night you could hear everything. Music through the walls. Someone always arguing about something. Doors opening and closing. The kettle in the common kitchen going at midnight. People coming back late and trying to be quiet and failing. It was never quiet. It was never still. But that Friday it was completely still. The kind of still where you can hear yourself breathe. Where every small sound your body makes feels too loud. I walked back to my room and my own footsteps bothered me. I told myself it was fine. I liked quiet. This was what I needed. I made tea. Sat at my desk. Opened my notes. Started working. And for a few hours it was actually fine. The silence helped. No distractions. Just me and my notes and the soft hum of my desk lamp and the occasional sound of the building settling. Around 11 p.m. I got up to make another cup of tea. Walked down the corridor to the common kitchen. Put the kettle on. Made my tea. I turned around to walk back. And I saw her. At the far end of the corridor. Just standing there. A girl. Completely still. Not walking anywhere. Not going to any room. Just standing in the dark corridor facing my direction. I looked at her for maybe 2 seconds. I told myself she was another student. Someone who had also stayed back. Someone who had stopped walking for some reason. I walked back to my room. I did not stop. I did not say anything. I did not look back. I wish I had looked back. Because that was the first time I saw her. And I did not understand then what I was actually looking at. I got back to my room. Sat down. Drank my tea. Went back to my notes. But something felt different now. The corridor outside my door felt different. Not louder or quieter. Just changed. Like something had entered it while I was in the kitchen. Like the silence had gotten heavier somehow. I told myself I was tired. I told myself being alone too long does things to your head. I kept working. About an hour later I needed the bathroom. I walked down the corridor. Past the bathroom at the end of the hall. The tap was running. Water going. No one there. I walked over and turned it off. Stood there for a second and listened. Corridor completely empty. No sound anywhere. Old building, I thought. Old pipes. These things happen. I kept walking. And as I passed room 9 I stopped. The door was open. Not wide open. Just slightly. A few centimeters. Just enough to see the darkness inside. Room 9 had been empty for 2 months. Everyone on the floor knew this. The student who lived there had left suddenly one day and never came back. No explanation. The room just sat empty. The door was always closed. Always. But right now, it was open. I stood there and looked at that small gap of darkness. I did not go close. I did not try to look inside. Something about the way the dark sat in that gap made me not want to go any closer than I already was. I went back to my room. I told myself the door had just swung open on its own. Old building. Old locks. I sat at my desk. Tried to go back to my notes. I could not focus. 3 things kept sitting in my head. The girl in the corridor. The running tap. The open door of room 9. Each one on its own was fine. Explainable. Nothing to worry about. But together they would not leave me alone. I put my pen down and picked up my phone to check the time. There was a missed call. No number. Just a blank space where the number should have been. Full signal. No information at all in the call details. Just a blank missed call with no source. I put the phone face down. Told myself it was a network glitch. I got up. I told myself I would check the corridor just once. One look. Confirm it was empty. Come back and sleep. I opened my door and looked out. Empty. No one there. But room 9 was closed. I stood in my doorway and looked at that closed door. It took a few seconds to understand what I was seeing. The door had been open. I had walked past it 15 minutes ago and it was open. I had not closed it. I had not gone near it. But it was closed now. I stood there for a moment. Then I went back inside and sat on my bed. I checked my phone again. 3 missed calls. All blank. All from different times that night. I had been awake for all 3. Sitting right at my desk with the phone in front of me. It had not made a sound for any of them. I sat there and thought about what my roommate had said before she left Thursday evening. She said it laughing, coat half on, bag over her shoulder. She said, "Don't stay up too late on this floor. This place gets weird at night." I had laughed. It sounded like something people say about old buildings. I had forgotten about it the moment she said it. Sitting on my bed at midnight with 3 blank calls and a door that had closed by itself, I remembered it now. I thought about the exact way she had said it. Not quite like a joke. More like something she had heard somewhere and was passing on just in case. The way you pass on a warning without wanting to be responsible for it. I put my phone down. I noticed something else then. My window was open. It had been open all night. But I had not heard a single sound from outside the whole evening. No traffic. No wind. No birds. Nothing at all coming through an open window at midnight. I looked at the window. I looked at the complete silence coming through it. I did not understand that yet. Not fully. I went back to my notes. I told myself I would work until I was tired enough to sleep. Around 1 a.m. I went back to the bathroom. Tap was off this time. I went to wash my hands. Looked up at the mirror. There was a handprint on it. Not on the front of the glass. On the back. Pressed from inside. All 5 fingers. A full handprint pressed flat against the back of the mirror like someone had pushed their hand against it from the other side. I stood there and looked at it. I reached out and touched the front of the mirror. Cold glass. Smooth. Normal. But behind it, that hand. I stood in that bathroom for a long time. I did not scream. I did not run. I just stood there because my brain did not know what to do with what my eyes were showing it. Then I walked back to my room. Sat on the edge of my bed. Drank the rest of my tea. It had gone cold. I looked at the wall. I thought about calling someone. I picked up my phone. I thought about what I would say. I thought about how it would sound coming out of my mouth. I put the phone back down. I sat there and I waited. I did not know what I was waiting for. But something in that room had changed. Something in the air. Something in the silence. Something I could feel but not name. And whatever it was getting closer. The room felt different. I noticed it slowly. First the air. Heavier. Thicker. Like something had entered the space and taken up room that had not been taken before. I looked around. Desk. Chair. Bag on the floor. Books stacked the same way. Everything exactly where I had left it. Everything looked normal. The feeling kept growing anyway. I looked at my desk lamp. The light felt weaker than it had been. Not flickering. Just dimmer. Like the darkness in the corners of the room had gotten stronger and the lamp was slowly losing ground against it. Then I noticed my breath. I could see it. Small white clouds right in front of my face. My own breath visible in the air. It had not been cold that night. Not at all. I had been sitting in just a light jacket and I had been perfectly warm all evening. But now I could see my breath. The room had gone cold. Not gradually. All at once. Like something had walked in and brought cold air with it from somewhere else entirely. I sat very still. I watched my breath make small clouds and disappear. Make clouds and disappear. The silence was different now too. Heavier. The kind of silence that feels like it is pressing against your ears from the outside. Like it is being held in place on purpose. And then my door opened. I watched it happen. The handle turned by itself. Slowly. The door swung all the way open. I had locked that door. I had checked it twice. I watched it open anyway. Nothing came through it. The corridor outside was dark. Silent. I picked up my phone. No signal. Gone completely. Full bars all night and then just nothing. I looked at the open corridor. It looked exactly the same as always. Same walls. Same floor. Same faint red glow from the emergency sign at the far end. But I could not make my legs move toward it. My body was saying no before my brain had finished deciding. Not exactly fear. Something underneath fear. Something older than that. I went back to my bed. Sat down. Pulled my knees up. The cold got worse. I could feel it in my hands now. In my face. The kind of cold that does not sit on the skin but goes through it and settles somewhere deeper. I looked at the open door. At the dark corridor beyond it. Nothing there. Nothing I could see. The lamp flickered once. Just once. Less than a second. In that half-second of dark I saw something at the far end of the corridor. A shape. Standing still. The light came back. The corridor looked empty again. I sat on my bed and stared at the open door and did not move. My hands were shaking. I had not noticed until I looked at them. I pressed them flat on my knees. They kept shaking anyway. Then I heard something. Very faint. So faint I was not sure at first. A sound from the corridor. Not a footstep. Not a door. Something slower than both. Like something being moved across the floor very carefully. Very slowly. Getting closer. It stopped. Silence. I breathed out slowly. And then, from the far end of the corridor, the sound of a door opening. Slow. Very slow. Long creaking hinges. Room 9. She was standing in the doorway of room 9. The same girl from earlier in the night. Standing completely still. In the doorway. Framed by the darkness of that empty room behind her. Looking straight at my door. Not at the corridor. Not at the walls. Straight at my door. Like she knew exactly which room was mine. Like she had always known. I did not move. She did not move. The cold in my room was at its worst now. I could feel it in my chest when I breathed in. I could see my own breath in the air in front of me. Small white clouds. One after another. She just stood there. Completely still. Not blinking that I could see. Just standing in that dark doorway with the empty room behind her. Looking at my door. Waiting. A long time passed like that. I kept thinking, she will go back inside. She will turn around and go back and this will be over. Just stay still. Just wait. She did not go back. Something changed. I cannot explain it exactly. She did not make a sound. She did not move suddenly. But something about the way she was standing shifted. Something in the air of the corridor shifted with it. Like the temperature dropped one more degree. Like the silence got one layer heavier. And then she stepped forward. One slow step. Out of the doorway. Into the corridor. She stopped. Same stillness. Same expression. But now she was out of the doorway. Now she was in the corridor. Now she was closer than before. I pressed back against my headboard without deciding to. My body moved before I did. She took another step. Slow. No rush at all. Like she had all the time in the world. Like she knew I was not going anywhere. She stopped again. In the middle of the corridor now. Still looking at my door. Still calm. Still completely still between each step. I looked at my phone. No signal. Still nothing. She took another step. Closer. I got up from the bed. I do not remember deciding to. My legs just moved on their own. I went to my door. Turned the lock. Put the chain on. Stood there with my hand flat against the door and listened. Silence. I stood there and waited. Nothing for a long time. And then, right on the other side of the door, one footstep. Right outside my room. Then nothing. Just silence. Just me with my hand against the door. Just the cold air. Just my own breath making small white clouds. I backed away slowly. I went to the window. Pulled it shut. Locked it. The silence from outside cut off completely. Now the only sounds were inside the room. My own breathing. The faint hum of the lamp. I stood in the middle of my room and looked at the door. And then she knocked. Once. Soft. Slow. Like 3 fingers tapping gently. The kind of knock you use when you do not want to wake someone. Almost polite. I did not move. She knocked again. Same softness. Same slowness. Patient. Like she had knocked on doors like this before and she knew how to wait. I stood in the middle of my room and looked at the door and did not make a single sound. She knocked again. And again. Soft. Slow. Steady. Not getting louder. Not getting faster. Just continuing. Like she was not going to stop. Like stopping was not something she was considering at all. I stepped back. My leg hit the bed. I sat down without meaning to. The knocking kept going. I looked at my hands. Shaking. I pressed them flat on my knees. They kept shaking anyway. The knocking kept going. Soft. Slow. Steady. I could feel it now. Not just hear it. Each knock moving through the floor. Through the bed. Through me. As soft as it was, I could feel every single one inside my chest. I tried to stand up. My legs got halfway and gave out. I sat back down. I tried again. Same result. I tried to say something. Anything. Who are you? Please stop. Just one word. Nothing came out. My throat had closed. My mouth opened and nothing came out. My body was shutting things down quietly. One at a time. Without asking me. The knocking kept going. Soft. Slow. Steady. My chest felt heavy. Like something was sitting on it. I was still breathing but each breath felt smaller than the one before. I had to think about each one. In. Then out. In. Then out. The knocking kept going. The lamp flickered. Once. Short. The room went dark for half a second and then the light came back. In that half second of dark there was nothing except the knocking. No room. No building. No world outside. Just the dark and that soft steady knock. Light came back. Knocking kept going. I was on the floor. I do not know when that happened. I do not remember going down. One moment I was sitting on the edge of the bed and then I was on the floor. Cheek against the cold floor. Knees pulled up. Eyes open but not seeing anything properly. The knocking kept going above me. Soft. Slow. Steady. The lamp flickered again. Longer this time. I thought, get up. You need to get up right now. I could not get up. The cold floor against my face. The heavy feeling on my chest. The knocking above me so soft and so steady and so patient. My eyes closed. I tried to open them. They opened. then closed again. The knocking kept going. Getting quieter now. Or maybe I was getting further from it. I could not tell which one. Quieter. Darker. The cold floor. The soft knocking. Quieter still. And then nothing. No knocking. No cold. No floor. No room. No anything at all. I was just gone. I do not know what happened after that. I do not know how long I was on that floor. I do not know what happened in that room while I was not there to see it. I do not know if she kept knocking. I do not know when the knocking stopped. I do not know who was in my room that night after I lost consciousness. I know nothing about any of those hours. The only thing I know, the only thing I can tell you, is what I found when I came back. Light. Bright morning light pressing through my eyelids. I opened my eyes slowly. I looked at the ceiling. I lay completely still and I tried to understand where I was and how I had gotten there. I was in my bed. Blanket pulled up to my shoulders. Pillow under my head. Everything neat. Everything comfortable. Everything arranged carefully. I did not move for a while. I just looked at the ceiling and breathed. The last thing I remembered was the floor. Cold floor against my face. The heavy feeling in my chest. The lamp going dark. The knocking getting quieter and quieter until it was gone. And now I was in bed. Neatly placed. Carefully arranged. Like someone had carried me here slowly and taken their time about it. I lay there and tried to find an explanation. I walked to the bed myself without knowing. I crawled there in some half-asleep state. Someone from another floor heard something and came to check. Each explanation fell apart before it finished forming. Because the blanket was tucked in on both sides. That one detail kept stopping every explanation I tried to build. You cannot tuck a blanket in on both sides while you are lying in the middle of it. You cannot do it to yourself. Someone had stood on both sides of my bed and tucked the blanket carefully under the mattress on each side. Someone had been in my room while I was unconscious on the floor. Someone had picked me up. Carried me to the bed. Placed my head on the pillow. Tucked the blanket in on both sides carefully so I would not get cold. Someone had done all of that. And then left. I got up slowly. My legs felt weak. My whole body felt like it had traveled somewhere very far away and had not fully come back yet. I went to the door. Locked. From the inside. Chain on. Exactly as I had left it the night before. Not moved. Not touched. No sign of anyone entering or leaving. I stood there holding the handle for a moment. Then I turned around and looked at my desk. 2 cups. Mine from the night before. Cold. Half drunk. Exactly where I had left it. And right next to it, another cup. Clean. Empty. I walked over and wrapped both hands around it. Still warm. Not from hours ago. Not from the night before. Warm the way a cup is warm when it was made not long ago. When someone had just stood in this room and made tea and placed it carefully on the desk so it would still be warm when I woke up. Someone had made fresh tea in my locked room while I was unconscious on the floor. Had carried me to the bed. Had tucked the blanket in on both sides. Had placed my head on the pillow. Had made a warm cup and left it on my desk. And had left without using the door. I stood there holding that warm cup. I did not put it down for a long time. I went downstairs. The hostel looked completely normal. Morning light across the floor. A radio playing somewhere below. The smell of someone cooking breakfast. People starting to move around. Normal. Ordinary. Like the night above them had not happened at all. I found the warden in his small office near the entrance. I sat down and I told him everything. The girl in the corridor. The running tap. Room 9. The blank calls. The handprint on the mirror. The cold. The door opening by itself. The lamp. Her stepping out of room 9. Her walking toward my room one slow step at a time. The knocking. The floor. Waking up in bed. The warm cup. All of it. In order. Calmly. He listened the whole time. He did not interrupt once. He did not look at me strangely. He just listened with his hands flat on the desk in front of him. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Just a moment. Then he opened the bottom drawer of his desk. He took out a photograph. He placed it on the desk in front of me and did not say a single word. I looked at it. Her face. I knew it immediately. The girl from the corridor. The girl from the doorway of room 9. Same face. Same stillness. Like even in a photograph she was looking at something no one else around her could see. That part was instant. I knew her right away. Then I looked at the background. Something was wrong in the background. I could feel it before I could find it. I scanned the whole photograph slowly. Left to right. Top to bottom. And then I found it. 3rd floor of the hostel. Visible behind her. And on the 3rd floor, a window. Open. My window. The exact position. The exact size. And at the desk inside, a figure. Sitting in the dark. Desk lamp on. The photograph was dated 2 years ago. I stared at that figure for a long time. The posture. Hunched slightly forward. Elbows on the desk. The exact way I sit when I have been working too long and I am tired but I keep going anyway. My desk. My lamp. My window. My room. 2 years ago. Before I ever moved into this hostel. Before I came to this city. Before I existed anywhere near this building. She had been watching that room for 2 years. Standing in that corridor. Standing in the doorway of room 9. Watching that window. Watching that desk. Waiting for whoever was going to sit there next. The warden told me quietly. She had been a student on the 3rd floor 2 years ago. She had lived in room 9. One night she disappeared. No explanation. No trace. Never found. The room had been kept empty ever since. No one had wanted to stay in it after she was gone. He said it like a fact. Flat. Like reading something from a file. I looked at her face in the photograph. I looked at the figure at my desk. I did not ask any questions. I did not know where to start. I put the photograph back on the desk. I went upstairs. I packed my bag. I was out of the hostel before noon. I told everyone it was the location. Too far from campus. Not worth the commute. I said it until it almost felt true. I never told anyone the real reason. Not properly. Not the way I am telling it now. Every time I tried to start the story I would think about how it would sound. And then I would stop. Some things, when you say them out loud to someone who was not there, they look at you in a specific way. And after that look the story becomes about that look. Not about what happened. So I stopped trying. But I think about it. All the time. I think about the photograph. 2 years old. My window in the background. That figure at my desk. I have turned it over from every direction and nothing holds together. There is no explanation that works. I think about the cold that came into the room that night. How suddenly it came. How deep it went. I think about her stepping out of that doorway. One slow step at a time. Stopping between each one. No rush at all. I think about the footstep right outside my door. Just one. Then silence. I think about the knocking. How soft it was. How it never got louder. How it just kept going at exactly the same pace. Soft and slow and patient. Like she had been waiting a long time already and a little longer was nothing to her. I think about the floor. The cold against my face. The way everything got quieter and darker and further away. I think about those hours I do not know anything about. The hours between the floor and the morning. What happened in that room? Who was in it? What they did? I will never know any of that. And some nights that is the part that bothers me the most. I think about the 3 blank calls. All while I was awake. Right next to the phone. I think about the handprint on the back of the mirror. But mostly I think about the morning. The warm cup. The tucked blanket. My head on the pillow. She knocked on my door softly and steadily until my body gave out completely. Until I was on the cold floor in the dark and gone. And then something moved me to the bed. Something tucked me in carefully on both sides. Something made fresh tea and left it there still warm so I would find it when I opened my eyes. The door was locked from the inside the whole night. I do not know how to hold both of those things together. The knocking and the tea. The soft patient knock and the careful blanket. The girl who stood in that corridor for 2 years watching an empty room, and those same hands maybe, making sure I was warm before the morning came. I do not know what she wanted. I do not know if she was trying to scare me or tell me something or just be near someone after 2 years of being near no one. I do not know what 2 years alone in a dark corridor does to a person. Or to whatever a person becomes after that. I do not know if the warm cup of tea should scare me more than the knocking did. Or if it means something else entirely. Something I do not have a word for. I try not to think about it too long. I mostly fail. But maybe someone watching this does. Maybe you have been in a room that felt like that. Maybe you have woken up and something was wrong in a way you could not explain. Maybe you have an answer I have been looking for this whole time. If you do, tell me in the comments.